More disappointment for Solberg, but he could still take some positives from this event. And Colin McRae was being reminded of how tough it is at the top. He may have 25 WRC wins under his belt, but he was still getting used to this car and the setup of the team. Tyre choice was always an issue, and some wrong decisions in this department were holding him back. But he and co-driver Nicky Grist still looked set for a top 8 finish. However, although they were in Loeb and Eleanor's car, they didn't experience the luck of the reigning world champions. A failed alternator forcing them to retire on the very last stage. Despite the awful conditions, there were relatively few retirements, though Jan Kopecky would not be coming back from this off. This made for some intense competition throughout the classification, and many crews would be celebrating come the end of the rally. Kosti Katimäki, Chevy Pons and Chris Atkinson were disputing the middle order of the leaderboard over the last 2 days. By the time they reached the last stage, 4th place was the prize, and it was Chris Atkinson who was in possession. But Pons put in a fantastic run to leapfrog both Atkinson and Katimäki to take 4th. A sweet moment for the Spaniard, who's experienced a poor run of results since being replaced as the nominated manufacturer's scorer in the Kronos Citroën team by Danny Sordo. And with Katimäki also getting the better of Atkinson to finish 5th, he and the Stobart VK Ford team could celebrate their best result to date. Peter Solberg's retirement saw Mikko Hirvonen inherit 2nd, which would equal his best ever finish. He held off a spirited challenge from Henning Solberg. But the Peugeot man would end up celebrating a first ever podium finish. Brake failure meant it was a nervous run through the final stage. But at last, he could enjoy his moment.
No brakes at all.
Here we go, the biggest smile.
Yes! we broke a brake pipe, so we have to fix it, so we nearly reached the end. And now we are on the podium for the first time. Oh, I was nervous. Oh.
But the biggest party would be in the Ford camp. With Hirvonen already across the finish line, it was just left for Gronholm to get home to give the team their first 1-2 since Mexico 2004. Team boss Malcolm Wilson literally jumping for joy. This also meant that with the uncertainty over when Loeb would return, Gronholm had maintained his chance of lifting the driver's title. But he still had a mountain to climb if he was to achieve that. The gap was still 25 points. Mikko Hirvonen moved into 3rd ahead of Danny Sordo. And to neatly round off a great weekend for Ford, they also took over leadership in the Manufacturers' Championship.
As expected, Sebastian Loeb was still absent as the WRC made the journey to the other side of the world for Rally Australia. So Marcus Gronholm set out on the opening leg knowing that he needed a win or at very least a podium to keep his championship hopes alive.
Vasen hidas. Ja vasen eri sisältä. Kokonaan pois. 5 ja vasen eri, älä. Oikein nopea sumppuu kivi sisällä 7. Vasen hidas kirraa.
But just a few kilometres into the first proper stage, it looked to be all over. The 11 minutes this off cost him looked to have handed Loeb the driver's title.
Has this handed the championship to Sebastian Loeb, or can you fight back and get near the podium? You need 3rd perhaps.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, but I think he deserves it because he was leading so comfortable. So okay, No, okay, stupid mistake from me.
Grönholm's demotion left the Subarus of Petter Solberg and Chris Atkinson out in front, and it was the Australian who was the leader in front of his home crowd. But Atkinson's dream of delivering a home victory in what was the last time this event was to be held in Western Australia would last only a few stages. He went off and his Subaru caught fire.
Mate, just sit here, take your helmet off. Leave it on. Don't get too close to him if it ignites.
And the news got no better for Subaru, as it was not Petter Solberg who inherited the lead, but Ford's Mikko Hirvonen, who was now leading his team's challenge to enhance their position at the top of the standings in the Manufacturers' Championship. But Solberg was still enjoying a revival in fortunes.
50, right into 6 left bus long, keep Bevy in the crest, slow 40, 6 right long, Titans 5 left, Titans keep in the crest.
And not even this overshoot on stage 8 could stop him retaking the lead.
Go right.
But if he could overcome overshoots, he couldn't overcome the hanging dust, which had become a constant problem. On the following stage, the problem was so bad the Norwegian had to stop, which handed his Finnish rival an advantage in the region of 30 seconds. Petter's brother Henning was also in trouble, but his problem was far more terminal.
150.
But Henning's retirement was one of relatively few for this event, which made for some fascinating battles throughout the field. With Danny Sordo suffering mechanical problems on day 1, Terry Pons was left on his own in Kronos Citroen's bid to catch Ford in the Manufacturers' Championship, and he was fighting it out with Manfred Stoll for 3rd place. There was little to separate them, and after stage 14 on the second day, they were dead level. But Stoll has more experience in Australia, and with Pons needing to protect his 4th place from Grönholm, who was moving back up the leaderboard, Stoll gradually took the upper hand in this contest to take his 2nd consecutive 3rd place. Up ahead, Petter Solberg was on course to deliver his first podium since Argentina, the most positive sign yet that Subaru were beginning to get to the bottom of their technical issues.
40. Okay.
But the season was just getting better and better for Mikko Hirvonen, who was finally about to deliver his first WRC win.
Mikko, listen to this. 2006 Rally Australia winner.
Sounds really, really good, and it's been a fantastic weekend. Just having this fight with Petter and doing the same speed as him, so fantastic. Can't really believe it.
There's the result, and with Marcus Grönholm only finishing 5th, the celebrations could start in the Citroën camp. Sebastian Loeb, the World Drivers' Champion for a 3rd time, even though he was sitting at home in Geneva, although he was able to join in the festivities via an internet link. And there it is, with a 21-point lead and just 2 events left, Loeb could not be caught by Grönholm. Hirvonen's win helped Ford to move further ahead of Kronos Citroen in the Manufacturers' Championship, their lead now 16 points.
Rally New Zealand had moved to new headquarters in Hamilton for 2006, with a number of stages that would be new to these drivers, and that was one of the reasons that newly crowned World Drivers' Champion Sebastian Loeb was in attendance for the recce.
Congratulations, Sebastian, 2006 World Rally Champion. You must be very pleased to have done it for a 3rd time.
Yes, sure. It was a nice feeling to be champion during Australia, because it was a big pressure. Since I broke my arm, I couldn't do anything against Marcus, and he was closing the gap, so now that's done.
So Loeb was drivers' champion, but without him it was going to be a big ask for his Kronos Citroen team to win the Manufacturers' Championship. Ford needed to score just 3 points more than their rivals to secure what would be their first title since 1979, the days of the mighty Escort. And the Ford duo of Gronholm and Hirvonen were quickest out of the blocks, rapidly opening an advantage of more than 30 seconds over the rest of the field. Mikko Hirvonen may have been on a high after his win in Australia, but he would have to adjust to being behind his senior teammate Marcus Gronholm in New Zealand. Gronholm had won in New Zealand on 3 previous occasions and was looking to make this his 6th win of the season. But the Citroëns of Dani Sordo and Chevy Pons were doing everything in their power to keep the hopes of their team alive. Both established themselves in the top 5, but still it looked like they would need to rely on the retirement of one of the Fords to maintain an interest in the manufacturer's standings. And this pairing had more immediate concerns as they were fighting it out with Manfred Stoll over 3rd position. Sordo had taken 3rd place away from the Austrian at the end of day 1 and increased his advantage when he went for a soft compound tyre in the damp conditions of the 2nd morning. For once, things seemed to be going the right way for the Spaniard on the gravel. Stoll, who had gone for a hard compound tyre, also lost time to Pons, but he learned from his mistakes, and in the afternoon, with his setup spot on, he beat both Citroëns on the 2 main tests to regain 3rd position. After promising signs in Australia, Subaru were again struggling to keep pace with the leaders. Peter Solberg had complained of having no grip on the opening day and would get no higher than 6th. While Chris Atkinson would not return after colliding with a rock and wrecking his suspension on stage 9.
Okay, stand by, Mom.
For the 2nd event in a row, it would be Henning Solberg who would take the prize for the biggest off when he rolled on day 2. The Norwegian would recover to finish 12th, which was 1 place behind Valentino Rossi. The multiple MotoGP champion was sampling the WRC for only the 2nd time. He started cautiously and had some difficulty with the conditions. But he showed a steady progression in his times and was really enjoying these stages. Is a permanent switch to the WRC a possibility for one of the biggest names in motorsport? In the carve-up for the major positions, come the last day, Manfred Stoll was drawing on his greater New Zealand experience to consolidate himself in 3rd position. Meanwhile, Chevy Pons put in some great times, including being fastest on the last 2 stages to take Dani Sordo for 4th position. Creditable performances by the Citroën duo, but they would not be good enough to prevent the Ford 1-2. Mikko Hirvonen was 2nd, his 6th consecutive podium. While Marcus Gronholm was registering his 4th win in New Zealand and his 24th WRC victory, which put him level with Tommi Mäkinen as the Finn with the most career wins.
Slow, 50. Long left, slow. Into the finish. Up.
There's confirmation of the result, but the most important statistic was that after 27 years, Ford were manufacturers' champions again. And after a lifetime with Ford as a driver and now team principal, this was a dream come true for Malcolm Wilson.
I've got to be honest, I'm speechless. I think it's a full credit to all the team. They've done it's taken us 10 years since we took on the Ford contract to get to this position. But really, at the end of the day, it's all about people, and what the people have done back at M Sport up in Cumbria, I think, is it's fantastic. And we've been bridesmaid on many occasions, but to actually do it now is just a great feeling.
And there are the standings. Ford take an unbeatable 25-point lead into the final event. In the Drivers' Championship, Mikko Hirvonen is now confirmed in third. The only issue left to decide now is who finishes fourth.
With Wales Rally GB back in its traditional end-of-season slot, the crews were faced with the worst of the British weather. Overnight rain ensured that the stages were especially slippery on the morning of day one. That didn't seem to bother Marcus Grönholm, who won this event in 2001. He led from the very first stage. And his teammate Mikko Hirvonen, as in New Zealand, was second. Although Hirvonen's Focus did receive some damage when he slid wide and hit a rock on stage one. After the first loop of stages, Grönholm and Hirvonen look set to try and repeat New Zealand's 1-2 for Ford. But at service there was bad news for Mikko. He was forced to retire. Though the damage to his Focus he'd received from that rock looked repairable, there was a critical problem under that crumpled metal. The roll cage had been damaged, and the safety implications meant the car could not continue.
It's really a shame. I would have loved to finish the rally, and even though what happened in the first stage, I really enjoyed it. So all the three stages. So a shame that it ended like this. We would have a good, maybe want to finish in the rally and end the season like that, but didn't happen.
The conditions meant that staying on the road was a victory in itself, and many failed to achieve this. Henning Solberg has had a lively time in the last few events, and Wales was no different, although he recovered from this off to finish 11th. But Andreas Eigner would not return from this role.
Wird 4 plus kurz, slip innen, in leicht links, zip.
With Hirvonen out, Petter Solberg inherited second place and spent the next day and a half jostling for position with Manfred Stoll. In a ding-dong battle for preeminence, nerves eventually told, with Solberg hitting a post on stage 11.
One right, tightens up long, opens, 100, no.
He broke the impetuous steering rack and dropped to third. No wins in 2006 for the Norwegian. He'll be hoping for better fortunes in 2007. So Manfred Stoll took second, a strong end to the season for the Austrian after finishing third in Australia and New Zealand. That also equals his best ever result in the WRC, a fitting way to celebrate his and co-driver Ilka Miner's 50th start together.
40, rechts 3 minus Abzweig, ziehen.
Behind Stoll and Solberg was another battle being fought between Chevy Ponce and Jari-Matti Latvala. The Finn driving a Stobart VK Ford was the man on top, holding fourth place at the end of leg one. But Ponce nibbled away at his rival on day two and took back fourth position.
Menus 30, ojo, rasante derecha, 6 menus carro.
That wasn't the end of it though. Latvala fought back on the final day, retaking fourth, a career best for him and a best finish too for Stobart VK Ford. Once his teammate Danny Sordo had looked a possibility for a podium finish early on, but gearbox failure on day 2 ended his hopes. He eventually finished 7th, a downbeat farewell to the Zara then for Danny, who'll be driving a C4 next year when Citroën returns as a full manufacturer's team. The team hitting the headlines in Wales though was Ford, with Grönholm giving the team their first win at their home event since 1979. Having won the Manufacturers' Championship this year, Ford and Grönholm will be aiming for the double in 2007.
Pitkä hidas, kivet sisällä.
And it was Grönholm's 25th WRC victory, the most by any Finnish driver.
Marcus first overall. That's 7 wins this season, 25th career, and first time Ford won here in 27 years.
Lot of statistics now. Yeah, it's good. It's good feeling after all. Yeah, very good for my first year with Ford and so, and to finish 1 point behind Sebi. It's a little bit, you know. Otherwise it would have been fantastic.
So Marcus Grönholm picks up the final 10 points of the season, Manfred Stoll 2nd and Petter Solberg 3rd. Sebastian Loeb is the drivers' champion for the 3rd year running. His enforced layoff meaning the winning margin over Grönholm just 1 point. Mikko Hirvonen finishes 3rd, while Manfred Stoll's 2nd place saw him leapfrog Danny Sordo to finish 4th. Ford in the end comfortable winners of the Manufacturers' Championship from Kronos Citroën. Subaru finished 3rd, OMV Peugeot 4th, Stobart VK Ford 5th and Red Bull Skoda 6th. The life of a rally co-driver can sometimes be a bumpy one. They feel the effects of every jump, every knock, and every smash. And when things go wrong, it's usually them that get the blame. To avoid mishap, the pace notes have to be perfect, and as always, preparation is everything.
My rally starts on the Sunday, when we arrive the week before, and then start planning for the recce.
Here the drivers and co-drivers get their first look at the stages and the opportunity to compose the notes. The driver dictates the severity and length of the bends and crests to the co-driver. He must make sure everything is written down correctly.
To keep left over crest into forward minus type 2, so adding a crest.
Out on the stages, it's his notes that will act as the eyes of the driver.
The road is so rough that when you're writing the pace notes down, some of it is almost ineligible, so you have to rewrite certain sections of it.
We get back after the recce, the driver's finished, then the co-driver starts to work again, and you have to reproduce the day's work.
We're working till 1:32 a.m. in the morning. Nobody sees that, they just see a very tired person next morning.
Only a couple of days split the recce from the start of the rally itself, and this is where the co-drivers put all their hard work into practice.
Jatkuu oikein eri sisältä ahdas. Right 3 minus 200.
Even the best in the business can slip up though. Losing your place in the notes can cost a driver valuable seconds.
No. Este es el final, el antiguo final.
Whilst a wrong note called can be a real headache. But a co-driver's role goes above and beyond just calling out pace notes. The 3 days of the WRC event are governed by a strict timetable, with the cars having to check in at stage starts and service stops. It's the co-driver's responsibility to ensure that his car arrives at the correct time at these controls. Get it wrong and you've incurred a time penalty, as happened to Carlos Sainz and Marc Marti in Argentina in 2003. It was a mistake that would cost them the lead of the rally.
He was thinking that I said go ahead, and I said wait. And just when he started, I tried to follow the car, but it was too late.
Whose mistake is this? Yours, the team's, or Carlos's?
It's my mistake. It's always my mistake. But I must go into the car or catch the car or try to do the best. But
that's the nuts and bolts of the job, but there are other less quantifiable elements.
The driver has to only concentrate on driving. So the co-driver should be like a mum and grandma and a friend and a secretary for the driver and do everything. If the driver gets upset, you swallow it. You discuss it after the event. Never upset a driver, never tell him things he doesn't want to hear. You know, you just have to be, sometimes you may tell him, you know, but you have to judge the right moment to tell him.
Teamwork and partnerships are an aspect in many sports, but the relationship between rally driver and co-driver is extra special.
It is the ultimate trust, really. When you really sit down and think about it, you know, you're sort of saying flat right over crest or something flat in 6th gear.
6 left plus, 120, opens the flat middle of a jump, 80, keep left over crest, 40, line into 6 right minus.
Just total confidence between the two of you, and it does take a while to sort of to gel it all together and get that confidence.
You need to trust what he's doing, the co-driver, and reading the notes and no mistakes. Sometimes there is mistakes, but it's completely normal. If I'm sleeping, I'm doing stupid corners, putting on a paper there, so Timo is always that, hey, it's not right that. That's the work together, and it should be like it.
It's a 50-50 relationship in the car. I trust him completely and he trusts me completely, so we both rely on each other.
If you have a guy or a girl who just say yes, 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 it's not a good thing. You have to say no sometimes also and have a discussion and fight if you're going to get the respect.
No!
And with such a complex relationship in the car, some fallouts are inevitable. But for most, the relationship is a good one.
Fantastic.
Do you think Phil's the best co-driver in the world?
Of course. That's why he's in with me.
You have to have good communication. I always say that, you know, in love, sport and work, you have to have communication. If you don't communicate in love, you divorce. In a sport, you don't win, and in work, they sack you.
So next time you see a rally driver getting all the plaudits for a win, spare a thought for the unsung hero sat in the seat beside him. Because without him, life for a rally driver would be very different. The Subaru Impreza World Rally Car, 6 world titles and 46 individual rally wins. The blue and yellow of Subaru have become an icon of the sport, and the 2006 version of the car is just as striking. Who better to show us around the latest Impreza than Australian star Chris Atkinson?
Hi, I'm Chris Atkinson from the Subaru World Rally team. Today I'm going to show you through my office the Subaru Impreza World Rally Car 2006. Hope you enjoy the show. Okay, here we go, hopping into the car. It's not as easy as a road car to get into. Obviously we've got the roll cage and then deep bucket seats. A lot of differences obviously between the road car and this car. Two of the biggest ones you can see here, both the handbrake lever and the gear shift, totally different to a normal car. Normally you'd have a gear shift here, but we've actually got a handbrake lever which helps us do handbrake turns in tricky situations, or if we're going too fast to a corner we can quickly pull it and it'll get us out of an understeer or something like that. Also we've got the gear shift here, which is a lot easier than a normal road car. We just pull up, you can do it with one finger if you want, and that will shift up gears and push away to go down gears. You don't have to use a clutch or anything like that. You can stay full throttle and just keep pulling up gears, which is quite good fun. It's easy to drive. As you can see here, this is the steering wheel of the Impreza World Rally Car. It's actually made of carbon fibre, so it's lightweight, which is good for the centre of gravity and that, because it's quite up high. Also there's a lot of buttons here. Quite simple to use really. We've just got a washer, and wipe, and a marker button which helps the engineers. If we have a problem with the car, we can press that red button and that will put a mark in the data. And the other two are just for our headlights and our launch control, which we use at the start line. Generally during the stage you don't use them much, just the washer, but Glenn's also got them on his side, so he can use them if we have some mud come on the windscreen or something like that. Obviously a lot of controls here that are different to a road car as well. We've got a lot of circuit breakers, which we've got to put all these in. We've got a system when we start the car, and then once we're going on the stage as well. So we put all of them in, and hopefully they all stay in and we have no problems. When we're talking about the start of a stage, firstly we've got a gear selection device here, which is obviously different to a car again. We've got a road mode and a stage mode and reverse, and obviously neutral. So obviously put the clutch in and then select either road or stage depending what we're going to do, and then drive off and use the gears. Another switch which is very important at the start of the stage is the anti-lag switch, and this gives us instant response. So you don't want to run with this when you're driving along slowly because it builds up an enormous amount of heat in the turbo, but we turn it on at the start of the stage, usually onto 3 the maximum, and go flat out. It gives great response, and you can let the car go really slow and then hit the throttle and you've got full boost, which is amazing to drive.
With stage mode engaged, the rest is down to Atkinson and co-driver Glenn McNeil. And with the launch control activated, the traction and power provide immediate response.
From this angle you can see we're sitting a long way back as well. We're back here with the B pillar, which is nearly halfway in the back seat, and that means the steering wheel and the pedals are all brought this way, and this helps with the center of gravity. We're sitting low and far back, so the car's nice and balanced, and this all helps with performance. Just some other small features, obviously the safety thing is a big thing. You've got a massive roll cage, huge amounts of tube all throughout the car, and then the seats with these special head devices and 5-point harnesses as well to hold us in tight so we don't move. As you can see, when we're going over big jumps and things like that, it's quite tricky, and you can get thrown around, but this holds us in place well, and it means we can keep focused on the road.
60. 60, keep right on crest, then short left, and 7 right and short left.
Okay, as you can see from this angle, we're sitting quite low in the car again, down low with the steering wheel as well. Another point on the steering wheel is the surface. It's made of a special felt material which matches the gloves, so if we hit a rock or want to throw the car into the corner, we've got good grip. Another special feature of these cars is the felt on the dash here, which helps with the sunlight coming in. There's no glare. On a normal dash you'd get glare into your eyes, but with this felt it nullifies the glare, and then you can see the road and have no problems driving.
6 right, plus open, 40. Late 6 right on crest, leads them up very long, 5 left opens, caution brake crest, 7 right.
As you can see from this angle again, the pedals are a long way back, but generally the setup's the same as a normal road car. You've got your throttle, brake and then clutch. Generally the only two we care about are obviously the throttle and the brake. The brake's a lot bigger than a normal brake pedal, and it's also a lot harder to push. This gives you better feedback and better feel. Generally you use our left foot to brake and our right foot to use the throttle, and don't worry about the clutch. The clutch is just for road sections and just for stopping at traffic lights, otherwise we don't use it. So that's how they work. But I hope you enjoyed the time in my Subaru Impreza World Rally car.
So proof then, if needed, of just how technologically advanced these machines are. From the outside they may look similar to a road car, but under the skin they're anything but. Hard or soft compound, correct tread pattern. The decisions involving tyre choice are a big issue in the WRC. But whatever the type of tyre, the first requirement is that the raw material is up to scratch. You need the best rubber. The life of a high-performance tyre begins years before it gets anywhere near a rally car or service park, in the form of a cut slick or a G-force gravel. So where does the story begin? Well, if it's a BF Goodrich tyre, the answer is the plains of Brazil. The Edouard Michelin plantation near Rondonópolis, 900 kilometers to the west of the country's capital, Brasilia, was established in 1979 and typifies modern rubber production. The plantation covers 8,400 hectares, has a staggering 3.5 million trees, and has an output of 20,000 tons of rubber a year.
This plantation has started in 1979 and we completed it in 1982. It takes 3 years to complete it. We have here about 1,350 persons working here in the plantation. From then 1,000 persons are directly linked to the production and 350 persons worked on general services, general duties. We have schools, health services, we have communication, telecommunication, internet, transport, etc. and so forth.
So with a workforce living on site, the process of cultivating the rubber trees required to make those all-important rally tyres is a labour-intensive programme, which starts with a handful of carefully nurtured seeds.
The seeds appears in end of March, end of February, March, and we plant the seeds in the nursery. And 1 year before the planting of the seeds in the polybag in the nursery, we bud it with a clone, and we transplant it definitely from the nursery to the fields after one and a half year.
Once the fledgling rubber trees leave the nursery, they're transferred to the main plantation. Upon reaching full maturity, the trees are carefully tapped for their precious commodity of latex rubber every 5 days.
It takes about 8 years, 7 to 8 years to make the first cut of the tree to get the latex, and the tree produces for 30 to 35 years. It is the economic life of the tree. After the harvesting of the rubber, as I said, the coagulum of latex, the latex is sent to the factory to be processed. Latex is processed into TSER, which is technically specified rubber. It's a quality of rubber, commercial quality of rubber. We have a factory here with a capacity of 20,000 tons. And the latex is transformed, is processed into commercial rubber.
So after the rubber has been processed and packed up, it's shipped for the next stage of production, where actual tyre construction begins. The BF Goodrich tyres use